had my cough for over a year before I went to a GP. It was just a little irritating cough, but I'd had it a long time, so I thought I'd better get it checked out.
I saw a doctor about 6 or 7 years after it started because it was increasing all the time.
Over 2 or 3 years, it got progressively worse. And I could feel myself being slightly more breathless and having problems wheezing up the hill, for example. So I did go to my GP, who was very open, and he immediately sent me to the local asthma clinic. I mean, that's the automatic reaction. You've got asthma.
So, ja, mit dem Husten, wie es angefangen hat, das war ganz schleichend, ganz nur so. Ja, und dann wurde es nachher immer mehr und mehr. Ich dachte, naja, vielleicht doch eine Pollenallergie, aber war es keine. Es wurden von verschiedenen Ärzten Allergieteste gemacht. Ja, wie es ging weiter, dann war es immer mehr und mehr unangenehm. Wie gesagt, ich war beim Hausarzt, ich war beim HNO-Arzt, ich war bei einer Lungenärztin, da wurde der Thorax geröntgt.
Well, I've seen my family doctor, and he sent me to a specialist. This guy was a respiratory specialist, and he started a lot of investigation with different exams, going through the digestion, going through the lungs. Well, everything, about 15 different exams, you know.
I initially had chest x-ray. I think I had some dye to have some sort of scan in my throat, blood tests. They all seemed fine. Over the years, at different intervals, I've had tube down my throat, spirometry tests for asthma, Ventolin, taking Ventolin every so often, and then checked how that affected my breathing. I've had a tube into my stomach for 24 hours, checked for stomach acid. I've gone quite a lot of years and not been to a GP. I've had big gaps when I've just not gone because really nobody seemed to come up with any answers.
Then I went to the family doctor. The family doctor said, okay, we have to cancel your medicine and we take another one. But there was no impact to the cough. Now I'm here at the lung doctor, and then we did also the X-ray check and another lung test. But as I know, there was nothing there to see that there is anything wrong.
I went and I had I had tests for every allergy under the sun at the asthma clinic. And then I had those sort of breathing tests where you puff into things. And I had another lung X-ray. And I was diagnosed with having some asthma with narrowing airways and some limited, reduction in my breathing capacity. And I kept returning to the asthma clinic over a period, I suppose, of, 2, 3, 4 years, and seeing the same specialist, but still having the cough. I mean, the cough was no better, basically. And I always felt also at the asthma clinic, it was so busy. And she, sometimes we'd have an appointment, it was nearly 7 o'clock at night, and you could see this poor woman was tired, exhausted. And I thought, well, she's got no time to think outside the box or to give me any extra sort of support. So I did ask my GP if I could be referred to Toulouse and a teaching hospital. So I was lucky because I was put in touch with Dr. Guillemino. And it was at that time the only cough clinic. I think that was a sort of a turning moment for me, not in terms of doing anything specific at that time that would going to improve my cough, but at talking to somebody who was interested in cough specifically. And he said to me, you have what we call a hypersensitive cough. It is a cough. It is something in its own right. And he did say, well, we don't have any different medications at the moment, but people are beginning to get interested in it and look at it. And for me, it was such a relief. It's been great, actually. It's been great just having a listening ear.
I just thought I had a very persistent niggling cough. But various people told me that I ought to go and have it checked out. And sort of 30 years later, I visited almost every London hospital, being referred to for all sorts of different diagnoses, some false, well, many of them false, thanks to being referred to the cough clinic at King's College Hospital. That really opened my eyes to the fact that my cough or my symptoms were recognised as a recognisable problem.
I don't think chronic cough was really mentioned when I first was diagnosed. I don't remember. I think a few years into having it, my GP did say to me he didn't really know what it was and he didn't really think they could stop it. And, well, there was nothing that could give me at that time, only inhalers and things. He did say he didn't think it was harmful, in a sense, long term, because he felt it was a reaction that I was having and it was a natural thing to cough. I think he was just really trying to put me at ease so that I wasn't worried.
What would I like doctors to know? I'd like laboratories to find a medication that's a good medication and not killing us with something else. Well, I'd like it to be acknowledged as a sickness because it's really very tiring sometimes.
Although it must be on my records, it never seems to be mentioned when I go to the GP if I've got some other illness. If you had any other illness, say diabetes or something that you were living with all the time, I think it would be, somebody might say, well, how's it going and how are you? But it never comes up unless I bring it up that I've got my cough. And sometimes I do say, well, I've got my cough as well, because I don't think people realise, you know, when you've got something that's you have all the time and then you get poorly on top of it, it's just a bit of an added irritation, I suppose.
But I think if GPs and asthma specialists all knew that there is something separate, it would shorten the journey, as it were. Just the real message is treat it seriously. The key thing is still that listening and understanding and being able to tell somebody, give a name to something. Just testing breathing, testing lungs, and reassuring people that it's not some other disease. I mean, I think that's the key thing also, is, you know, a lot of people have an awful lot of anxiety that it could be lung cancer or it could be, you know, some other chronic disease. Letting them know that no, cough is something and it's debilitating. But if you're diagnosed with cough and you ruled out everything else, you can live with cough.